All right, we are live. Guys, I know we're all giddy. This is going to be quite an episode. Let's get pumped up. Let's cue off the intro and we'll dive in. Boys and girls, I think we have some girls out there. This is episode 52, the 1-year anniversary. We haven't missed a show, 52 weeks. And we are broadcasting live from warm, sunny Cyprus. Always warm, always sunny. Sometimes Cyprus. Welcome.
Welcome. We did
Hey,
it.
everybody. 1 year. We almost all made it to the end, too. 3 out of the 4 of us made it 1 year.
Almost.
So we have a special episode. I mean, this is going to be epic. We're going to make it a little bit longer than usual because we have some guests coming, return guests, and one special new guest. I think we've seen some guesses, and I'm not going to comment. We'll just let it happen. But I see Hasaka liked my post about the show, so he would be an epic guest. But unfortunately, it's not Hasaka. Yeah, we'll reveal more as it goes on. But as Justin said, unfortunately, no Thiccy. We have spoken with Thiccy. Those of you that follow his Twitter, maybe we can bring up his last tweet. But Thiccy left us with a tweet saying that it's been an amazing journey and see you guys in the next one. He unfortunately is retiring into private life, at least for now. I think he's going to run up an anonymous account. So he's out there. Contrary to what some people are saying, he's not liquid. What happened? What was that?
Wait, dude, look at the first response. Bro shorted all of Thiccy's coins to retire.
Facts.
I know. He used me. I feel used.
Yeah. Look, he's had some epic calls. Obviously, he has been the most prominent person calling for the altcoin decline that we've seen over the last couple of months, where most altcoins fell 50 to 90%, and I think he did very well. He has given us a lot of good moments over the last year, guys. I mean, I'm a bit sad, but I think he's just focused on his craft and he doesn't want any more public interactions at this point.
Yeah, I think especially Twitter, he always gets a lot of hate as an altcoin bear, and I think
Hey, it's easy to be an altcoin bear. It's hard to be an ETH maxi out there. If I can stay, anyone can make it.
yeah, I mean, I guess Justin's still around.
So we always remembered our Thiccy thought he thought a lot song. So we'll play it as a little goodbye to Thiccy, and let's run it, Justin.
Thiccy he thought a lot about it. He knew the market was going down. GKR defeated when he tweeted. Thiccy knew that GKR was defeated. He shorted the market with all he had, 100 times long bias by the ultra liquid. Now his network is ultra liquid. He tweeted, Thiccy knew that GKR was defeated. He shorted the market with all he had, buy the fear, sell the greed. One weird trick to win it all. This is how we win. Our coins are down to million.
Does a great farewell.
Peace out, Thiccy.
Peace
out, Thiccy.
Trade in peace.
I'm a bit emotional, guys. I don't know. I mean, I'm still friends with Thiccy. I'm going to be talking to him, but we had this weekly schedule where you get to, see your friends every week, and no longer. Thiccy's a brilliant trader. I was the one who suggested he join us because he really is super talented as a trader, and he shared a lot of alpha, maybe too much alpha. Maybe that's kind of one of the things he's he wants to be more private. But rip Thiccy thought, and we'll try to figure out which one your new Anon account is. But meanwhile, there is a trading competition, and our ex-quantitative, maybe because he's no longer our quantitative, has not been doing very well. He was the first to get liquidated, and we have the standings. But we brought on one of our ex-guests who, at the time yesterday when we recorded, was leading the trading competition. So he was our new quant for at least a day. We will run a short clip with that interaction, and then we'll kind of regroup here. So we're cutting into a special segment. Some of our kind of all-star guests couldn't do the live show, but we're going to splice them in. So Sue is joining us again, and there's a lot of cool topics to talk about. How are you doing, Sue?
Good. How are you guys? We
are enjoying the roller coaster. It's been a ride. We're a bit sad that Thiccy will no longer be with us, our quantitative. But at least for this episode, we have somebody who seems to be doing better in the trading competition. Maybe Justin, you can bring up the latest results from what's happening. Obviously, the markets are moving, but our previous quantitative is out. I've been told that he was max shorting WorldCoin, which is one of the controversial topics maybe we can talk about. Stu, I'm curious, what is your position that got you the positive P&L?
Long WorldCoin. Yeah.
You liquidated our quant. That's what is that?
I actually bought it late. I was gonna buy it at 2.2 or 2.1, but then I bought it 2.5. But it's still early enough, I guess.
And you've kind of been noticing the negative funding rate, that there's like a bit of a squeeze going on.
A little bit of squeeze. I think a lot of people were like FDV consensus trade. I think WorldCoin was the most obvious target for people, but I think that it's one of the more dangerous ones because they're probably the cleverest in terms of doing this kind of stuff. It's the lowest float as well.
Justin, have you ever gotten your WorldCoins yet?
I still haven't. No, I forgot. I was just in Europe. That iconic photo of Sue and I together at ECC. But no, I forgot to open up the WorldCoin app. That was so stupid of me. I scanned my eyeballs like a year ago to the day, but still have not cleaned my tokens.
Well, you got to do it before the investors are about to kick off next week, I think. So you got to take another flight back.
Wait, you scan your eyeballs, but you don't get the tokens?
If you're in the US, you can't get them. You can only scan.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I gave up my eyes for nothing.
Yeah.
Did you scan too?
I haven't scanned, but I would scan if I saw one.
So I have a question for you. You mentioned, earlier that it seems like people short these alts at the biggest size near the bottom when sentiment is so bad. What do you think about all these? Or I guess, what do you think about the future metas? It seems like there's a lot of hate against low float coins. People love memes. Memes, I guess, have been pumping recently. Where do you think we go from here? Are the days of bullish unlocks no longer here? And we should just be trading these, these meme coins? Or is there a day, or is there a price where these, I guess, VC coins become attractive?
I think bullish unlocks are possible when investors are coordinated enough that they realize they can make more from not unlocking and from just basically relocking it, right? Some of the biggest pumps in alt history have been from that. If you think about going back further to 2017, like XRP, what they did was they announced the XRP escrow, where they put a lot of the team XRP into an escrow wallet, and then they said, aha, look, we're not dumping anymore. And then the price went for 40x in 1 month. But it has to get to a sentiment point where that's possible and people are very short. And also, I think there has to be a big enough narrative that they can decide that's worth playing for. With most coins, that's not really the case because there's not enough to play for to kind of induce. I mean, a lot of things are in the apathy range. Actually, it's not like hated or loved. It's just apathetic, and that's tougher to trigger a short squeeze on. Just no one knows that that exists. So I think Dime was very hated, and so that's why it actually able to pump because it got shorted enough. It's not easy to trigger shorts either, right? people have to like analyze it and say, they have to risk real money that they could have used longing other coins to like short your coin. So it's not trivial to attract short interest is my point, I guess. So the ones that can attract short interest, I would be bullish on. The ones that can't, I think it's just going to unlock and people are going to sell every month. I don't think it's going to be too different than what's already been happening.
You guys are pretty deep into the meme coin land, though, and especially there's like a segment of crypto Twitter that's always, I've never like really explored it, but I know that the My Lady Remilio segment, and I guess is Mog part of that, or is it like 10?
Definitely part of that.
Okay.
Mog is definitely Milady aligned, I would say. Yeah, there's a lot of new meme coins that are like Milady aligned meme coins.
Ask not what your coin can do for you, but what you can do for your coin. And maybe
Absolutely.
that's I hadn't taken that perspective with meme coins, but that's pretty interesting.
Are all these? I'm guessing like there's a lot of pro-Trump sentiment in these meme coins, the Mogs and the cults. Is that fair to say? And are they like super excited now that it looks like, he's looking like a lock for the election? I don't know what you think, but
yeah, definitely. I think Trump is also that embodiment of like, you say whatever you want and it doesn't matter, free speech. You find your own tribe. So I think Trump meme coins have been doing pretty well, from late last year to now. I think there's been a lot of dilution though. There's been a lot of new ones.
Are you surprised that the DJT one, which is the one that actually was created, it seems like it's sort of verified by now by Barron. It's not kind of really gotten much love.
It was, yeah. So when it launched, I think I ran like continuous spaces for like 4 days almost, just analyzing the launch because I found it really funny. I think Martin Shkreli kind of botched it because he just made it about himself. Actually, it became like becoming like a Shkreli coin. I think he kind of scared Barron off a bit.
Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you take stock that Trump is incredibly bullish for crypto in general?
I think so. And he's an edgelord as well, so he likes to get his base riled up. If you look at commitment to his political base, I think Trump's been the most consistent at being, good at that. So, David Bailey, who's a good friend, and he's organizing a lot of the Bitcoin conferences and stuff. He's very adamant that Trump will bring Bitcoin to like millions of dollars and stuff, which obviously is quite a big push from where it is now. But I think that's relatively, like I don't think Trump even will realize just how bullish it is if he mentions it in that way. But I think that that's kind of common in kind of when people interact with Bitcoin more and more. So I think that from Trump's point of view, it's like, I'm going to get more likes than dislikes, and I'm going to get more backing from kind of a core base. Like they've run the numbers, they've done the math, and they said, we want to catch this demographic. And, it's been long hypothesized. People thought it would happen last cycle as well. I mean, he can say some really outlandish stuff. Like, you just say like he's already said some stuff, right? He's like, all the Bitcoin should be mined in the US. Like, we should like keep up, we should take it away from China.
As long as you feel like you're like aligned with the cause, it changes your like, your perception. And we've all been down the crypto rabbit hole, so we know what it is to be a no coiner, and you're just reading the news about it going up, and you're like hating it, which is like Trump last cycle.
His VP pick is also so bullish. I mean, he's just such a crypto bull.
Absolutely. I think JD Vance is also very like Peter Thielian kind of a character, in the sense that, really, I think at his core, he's like a libertarian, but, has to fit into the mold of conventional politics. And so I think a lot of his views are going to be more harder to decipher. I mean, he has actually very little political experience, but he's like very, very popular in these like right-wing alt cultures and stuff. And I think that he has very strong knowledge of crypto as well. He's made a lot of interesting comments about the SEC, like about what the role of regulation is. And Trump himself is a deregulator, right? And so I think that both of those should be really bullish for crypto, just in terms of laissez-faire. It may get to a point where it's too laissez-faire and then it comes back again. But, I think it's probably been it's probably one of the more interesting times for the DeFi teams that have like waited out the whole like regulatory winter and then be like, it's going to turn eventually. We're not going to move. It's probably going to be good fine for them. So
yeah, maybe fee switches everywhere, in like next year. Do you have any predictions for the ETH ETF flow? Are you concerned about that flows? Just general.
I'm bullish ETH. I'm bullish ETH. I think the last time we did a podcast on Steady Lads, we were discussing BTC and stuff, and I thought like it's a bit capped. I think it's probably still capped, but I think that it can do a nice rally here, probably to 0.65 range, which is like moon. It feels like moon now if it goes to 0.65, 0.7, but I think it'll happen. I mean, I think like ETH benefits from inflows more than Bitcoin does. Like it takes fewer dollars, and so people just start doing like 50-50 or 70-30, whatever. It's already going to move ETH a lot more. Also, I think that like there's some like step function thing where or not step function, but the last time there was the grayscale, and now everyone's talking about ETHE redemption flow, and so that's probably priced in now. People are like, okay, I'm going to wait for the first day dump of the ETHE redemption, then I'm going to buy. So it's probably more likely now that we won't get that kind of a dump versus last time when no one was talking about GBTC redemption dump, and then it happened. So plus we've already gotten a big dump, so it's like you don't need more dumps. So I'm pretty bullish on ETH.
Yeah, I think certainly we're like an interesting spot with the ETF launching and with such a pro government potentially coming in, and it does feel like we might vampire attack other forms of value into crypto. I mean, gold's been doing well, so it looks like alternatives are back on the menu, and this could be like a great opportunity for majors. And then I guess we kind of know what happens when crypto people get their hands on extra cash. They start looking for long tail stuff. So it'll be interesting. Sue, thanks for hopping on for this special episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Can I sneak in one last question? I think it's pretty topical. So I think last time you came on, we polled you on the super cycle, and the super cycle was still on in your view then. How do you feel now? Is the super cycle still on and better than ever?
Very intact. I think very intact. Very intact.
Super cycle intact. Let's go.
And we're back.
Super cycle intact. Let's go. You're muted, Jordy.
Yeah, I'm saying it's definitely intact today, at least. Looks let's bring on our next repeat guest. One of my good friends is joining us here. Salsa.
Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be here.
Hola, amigo. ¿Cómo estás?
Hola, amigo. Muy bien.
Salsa, I've been seeing you catch the wrong side of some of the trades lately. Are you catching the upswing this time, or how are you been staying out?
I mean, my policy is to always tweet the losses, but I didn't tweet the wins before. So I did pretty good from 55 to 60, let's say, but market got the better of me. I started giving it all back from 60 to 64. So now I'm although I seem jigger-wrecked, I'm okay. I'm doing good.
Okay. Good to hear.
Yeah, Justin, if you can pull up my tweet, it's it seems like Salsa, you're just bull posting all the time. It feels like 100K is FUD, and even Andrew King, who was one of the more vocal bears.
No, I like what I see because I look at order books a lot, and it looks like the books are stacked on the offer way more than the bid, but market just keeps grinding up since 60K, and it's been going on for more than a week now. And typically when I get offside like this and market behaves this way, it means it's a strong trend. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm pretty optimistic. That's why I'm kind of bull posting. I have some big bags of different coins, and I'm just optimistic.
Nice. You muted, Jordy.
God damn it. So I have two theories. One is the market took such a big punch from like the German Drago, and like it feels like it's like Rocky 5, and we just take a big punch, and it just bounced back, not too hard, which makes people even more bullish because they're like, well, we can absorb large amounts of sudden supply, so we don't have to worry about gawks and all this other stuff as much. And then the other thing I think I was telling somebody yesterday why I'm so bullish and kind of very long, and it's all political based. I think the US is about to hit a perfect storm of monetary and political combination where the monetary money printing and trying to cut interest rates, and gold is all-time highs, and people are worried about the US dollar is kicking off. Meanwhile, you have Trump and his, we'll get into JD Vance, and I want to ask Leshner later about it since he's closer to this stuff. But, you know, I tweeted a couple of days ago when the news came out, I've been crossing my fingers. Maybe you can pull this up, Justin, but I've known JD Vance for a while will be the most bullish president or vice president ever for crypto. And we got
when I seen you tweet this, I closed my shorts. Just saying.
Good. Good idea.
I mean, it is true, right? Like in hindsight, it's going to be so obvious, right? Like just politically, this is getting set up to be the biggest 4 years for crypto ever if the Republicans win. From a monetary policy perspective, everything's lining up. We've got the ETF coming. We've got BlackRock. I mean, it is really going to be so obvious in hindsight. I think the super cycle is in fact intact.
Damn, this sounds like top signals. But I mean, I'm also bullish, but yeah, I mean,
that was
there's so many
tweeted at
tailwinds.
63K. I think Jordy, you tweeted that at 63-ish, 63 and a half maybe.
I have to say, I got like several DMs, not just from you, Salsa, but from like some big whales, and they're asking me like, "What's the deal? Like, what's going on?" Maybe a lot of them started closing shorts or going long. I don't know. Oh, we have some chats in our chat. Somebody saying Ryan Selkis guest. It's not Ryan Selkis. We have a tweet that somebody just sent. Can you bring up the tweet there?
I can pull that one up.
So we have a GCR saying, "Of course, I would be excited as I'm on. I was afraid to turn on my camera in case I saw my reflection on Justin's bald head. Instead,
Sorry, continue with the tweet.
You're not bald, Justin. We don't think you're bald.
I'm 30. I'm doing well for where I'm at. You know, I'm 30. What more can you ask for? I'm on the wrong side of 30.
He says, instead, I saw a vision of ETH being programmed to 10K. So, unfortunately, it's not the real GCR, but it's a great great shit post there by whoever that is.
GCR Lite.
GCR Lite. If you can pull up my screen, Justin. I guess Salsa's here, so we can ask for some of his trading takes. Obviously, it feels like the bullish hopium is in the air. How do you control FOMO in this, I guess, environment, especially if someone is somewhat sidelined? Do you have any trading tips on how to, I guess, be positioned? Do you just bite the bullet? Do you wait for a pullback, etc.?
I have extremely poor self-control. So let's say my margin account grows, let's say from like 6 figures to 7 figures, then I'll start taking positions like 500 Bitcoin, and I get stuck. So I can't trust myself with big accounts, basically. I withdraw.
Do you only leverage trade? Like, do you hold any spot, or are you just
I have a spot Bitcoin, of course. So when I have profit, I like to put it in Bitcoin, and that's kind of what keeps me sane, being on the sidelines from leverage.
Sorry, Justin. Can you pull up the comment from Michael Z? I'm max longing ETH if Justin goes bald in the chat. Sorry. You have to do it for you have to do it for us. Anthony Sassano shaved his beard for ETH. You have to be the next sacrifice.
Maybe for episode 104, I'll do it. Maybe at that point, it's just time to capitulate and just go for the shaved head. And that could be like around the time we should be topping in a year from now. So this all might work perfectly, actually.
Yes, the stars are aligning.
Let's stay focused. We must stay focused.
Sorry.
We're staying focused here. Let's get CoinGecko up. Let's look at the coins. I've been a bit surprised. I went through the top 100 and looked at the moves of the last 7 days. A little bit surprised. The worst performers are actually the coins that have been the most robust. So we see like Toncoin, not up on the week at all. Even though like we got like 10 to 20% everything else. We got Tron, usually like, just being a very resilient coin, down. And then meanwhile, it looks like the meme coins have had big bounces. I saw WIF up 60% and Bonk up 40%. And they are kind of not incredibly far off from Pepe is up 40%. So all these coins, I would say, are maybe like 20-30% away from the highs, which, yeah, to Salsa, to your point, I can't take a direction either way on those. It just feels like,
yeah, on the altcoins,
yeah,
it's different market. It really feels like Bitcoin and ETH are kind of leading. ETH had better days than Bitcoin many times through that uptrend, through the downtrend especially. So I don't know. I'm quite confident on Bitcoin and ETH. Maybe it's the ETF trade, but the altcoins, there's so much overhead from early investor and teams and whatnot. It's very hard to be on top of everything.
Yeah.
Salsa, I feel like I'm going to end up asking every guest this, but what are your thoughts on ETH BTC going into the ETF launching on Tuesday? I'll just pull up the chart here for reference.
I think that Bitcoin is so strong that it's misleading that this looks pretty bad, because Bitcoin is just going into some kind of golden bull run, and we've seen it in 2020. Into 2021, ETH outperformed Bitcoin, but at the early half of the bear market, the bull market, ETH was underperforming Bitcoin, but it still went up. I think it will easily outperform Bitcoin if the inflows are good. I mean, we've seen even after the launch of BTC, there was some outflows from Grayscale, and it kind of had a mini bear market. And then when the inflows start being good, Bitcoin went from like 38K, or I forgot the number, and it just went 2x basically into the 70s. And if ETH has just a crumb of what Bitcoin inflows were, it will pump even more because it's more illiquid.
Yeah, I think Jordy talked about it on either the Sue segment or last show, that maybe sort of the meta is getting front run. BTC, when the ETF actually launched, people were freaking out about the GBTC redemptions. We sold off before going higher ultimately. Do you think that could have just been front run, and maybe people are now pricing that in, and ETH will just do well from inflows?
I don't trust fully front run for large bullish narratives, just because I've seen before that sometimes things that people talk being front run about just still pump after the narrative begins. Like the halving last cycle, I think the halving, people were saying it's already priced in, and the bull run started basically after the halving in hindsight. Before that, it went maybe a couple multipliers, but it still pumped a lot after. So for bullish events, I'm more skeptical of it. There's a lot of sell the news oftentimes. So, but it doesn't mean even if it sells off on the short term that it's not going to go up.
It's also something I wanted to ask you is about trading competitions. So we showed a little bit the previous competition, and there's an orderly competition going on now, and they managed to convince me. They're like, there's 100K for first, and you can just YOLO. So
I've seen that. I was watching. I wanted to. In hindsight, I was like, "Fuck! Why am I not signed up for this?" Because it's the kind of thing that I find really helps staying in touch with the market without degening the main account.
Yeah, it's not the main account. They gave us all 10K to punt around basically, and we talked about Thiccy getting liquidated. There's this. Most people are doing pretty good. I'm surprised. Maybe traders are actually not LARPing and people are trading properly. Although I do feel like these competitions, because you're like ranked, you're more trying to be good at the competition rather than trading, right? Like when you take a test, like a math test, you're not being graded on math, you're being graded on math testing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, so, I remember doing that at Bybit competitions a lot. But now it's more difficult because there's so many pairs. Some are very illiquid, so like it's hard to compete with people trading the less liquid stuff, going high leverage. But
yeah, aren't you just incentivized with these trading competitions just to go for as much variance as possible? So just like max long, some long tail asset, or max short one, and basically take a gamble?
Nearing the end.
Towards the end, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like towards the end, if you're if you haven't been liquidated and you have some money left, you obviously go max long on some shitcoin and see what happens.
Oh yeah.
So I did the Thiccy revenge trade. I shorted WorldCoin from higher after he got liquidated at like 2.5. I shorted maybe at like 2.8, 2.9, and for a while I was negative, but now I'm back in the green. Although maybe with like this current pump, I'm getting closer to break even. My I don't know. Is this a good thesis, Salsa? I'm trying to do things that other people are not doing, because out of 12 people, if I'm gonna get first, I need to deviate from the pack.
Yeah, out of those 12 people, probably the ones who are a bit behind are going to go more degen. I mean, I remember doing that, and the first 100%, let's say, after that, you only need to risk a little less to stack the multipliers. So if you manage to get some kind of a head start, you don't need to risk the whole stack every trade. So
Yeah,
that helps a lot. But I remember degening a lot at the beginning. I don't know if you have redeposit or it's 10K one shot.
One shot. And
yeah.
actually, this is the interesting thing. And I love strategy games. I play all these board games. So I think about it more from, like you said, not so much about like what's the best trade, but what's the best strategy for playing this thing. So there's 4 weeks, and every week it resets, and you get points like Formula One. So it's like you get 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 points, and it's at the end who gets the most points. So if you get liquidated, you obviously like you lose all the potential next weeks. Even if you're down, I feel like you just kind of wait and wait for the next week. So
yeah. Within 4 weeks, you will probably have some nice, obvious trades, at least 1 or 2. So, I mean, if you're patient, you play it safe from the beginning. Out of those 12 other people, probably half of them go liquidated. So you already weed out half the competition, and then out of the 6 left, if you manage to catch just one good trade on degen leverage, then you're probably pretty well off in the top 3.
Yeah. One question I had for you, Salsa. I mean, I feel like, last cycle, there was the up only curse where every time they did a live stream, the markets would go down. But this time, Bitcoin's about to break 67K, or it just broke 67K. Seems like this is a bullish podcast, 1 year anniversary. And you mentioned you own a basket of coins right now. What is ETH beta, or what kind of coins are you buying for, I guess, Bitcoin?
I have Bitcoin and mental ETH and some pop from staking it. But my 2 bags are basically BTC and ETH. I don't trust a wide variety of coins. I have some investments here and there that I dibble in, but those are my core bags, because if I'm wrong, I like to believe I would lose a lot less holding Bitcoin and ETH than some more speculative shitcoin that can go much higher. So if I take the more speculative shitcoin, I tend not to talk too much about it, and I take a small bag compared to my portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, that's not where we went live, because that's the hourly chart, sir. But we'd like to dream.
Roughly.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think Steady Lad podcast is bullish, because we're like, I wouldn't be surprised we go to 70K from this podcast. Then we
Are you serious?
Steady Lads is bullish. It's probably in the next
with our
hour
final
or so.
guest, it may just happen. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it feels like the last year has flown by. We started this during, I mean, literally a year ago, right? Like during the rough part of the bear, and now it seems like, we're 1 year in, and all the tailwinds are on the horizon. Or
exactly. I think I said last week that we were born in the bear, and the podcast was born in the bear. We don't mind going through some rough patches. We know good times will come, like days like today. And we have a little clip of how we feel about it. Maybe, Justin, you can play the little clip.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
Yeah, we were born in the dark, so we don't mind going through some patches. And
Jordy, can we have your AI editor just edit "We were born in the bear"?
Yeah, we have to get him.
Yeah.
He's overdue for a few videos. People are asking about Puff. We have some Puff announcements on Monday. We're going to explain the Cook conversions and NFTs. So everything's coming on Monday on that. Next 4 years are bullish for Trump and Steady Lads. I think so. It looks pretty
I
good.
hope so.
How much ETH does Trump have? Doesn't he have some bags from his fundraisers and NFTs?
Yeah,
So
he has a lot of
a
ETH.
few $100,000 of ETH, nothing too crazy. And then JD Vance has between 100K and 250K of BTC. It's publicly disclosed.
Bullish.
Yeah.
Bullish.
Yeah, I mean, after Germany dumped their Bitcoin, I went back to 50-50 Bitcoin ETH. I think that it's a mistake to, and I've said this before, and people have started using it as a quote. On any given day, you can wake up and there's some crazy headline that will just rip Bitcoin. You never want to be short Bitcoin, even implicitly. Don't look at ratios. Just be not short Bitcoin. Don't actually lose money if Bitcoin goes up. It's okay if you choose a different coin, but putting on a spread where you're shorting Bitcoin. What if Trump goes to the conference in Tennessee, whatever, and not Tennessee? Where's the conference?
Florida,
Nashville.
Miami. Oh, okay.
Nashville, yeah.
Nashville. It is Tennessee. And he says, yeah, maybe we should put Bitcoin in the. He's not going to say ETH. He's going to start with Bitcoin. Say maybe we should put Bitcoin into a strategic national reserve.
I mean, it's rumored he is going to announce that at the Bitcoin conference next week. That is the rumor. I mean, who knows if it'll happen, but.
And what odds would you guys give for that? Like 10, 20%? So actually
50%.
Really?
Can you check? So Ari Paul from Block Tower, he's been trying to take a bet. He said he'll bet 10 to 1 that it doesn't happen. Actually, 1 to 10. Basically, he'll give somebody 10 to 1 odds. He thinks it's unlikely, even if they talk about it, that it actually passes. But I suspect that I think he mentioned he's kind of hedging his long Bitcoin anyway, so he won't be too upset if it does happen and he loses some money.
Yeah, Justin, I have it pulled up if you want to pull up my screen.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I guess he will say something along the lines, right, which is bullish in the short to medium term at least.
He's almost guaranteed, in my view, to say something like, we're looking into this. We know Bitcoin's a big thing. We're looking into it. Maybe we need a U.S. strategic reserve of Bitcoin. I don't think he'll go out and commit to it, but I think he's definitely going to allude to it. I mean, he's gotten so much money from the crypto industry alone, and he's speaking at a Bitcoin conference. So he has to say something bullish to sort of ignite this crowd. And he just riffs, right?
I normally, I think Justin's conspiracy theories are crazy, but this one, we all know Trump. He doesn't mind just talking off the cuff and saying random shit, even if it doesn't. So yeah, the chance of him talking about it is decently high. And even though that's a long way from it actually passing, it will be scaring all the shorts the fuck out of their position.
Yeah, what odds would you give the Solana ETF, Jordy? I think when the news first came out, we were putting 10 or basically non-zero chance this year, but maybe next year. Now,
we said 0 this year, 0.
Yeah, but how about next year? Do you think it'll go up substantially?
I think next year is 5%. I think 2026 is when it starts to become possible. I think it just has to go through the whole process, maybe get a CME future. All this, it takes a while, but I think maybe 26 is possible.
Yeah, I do want to pull up this Forbes article here. So this was posted by Forbes. Trump sparks talk of Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset, and the quote he said is, "We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA," which is a pretty interesting quote, right? Not exactly how it works, but quite bullish nonetheless. And I think it's pretty interesting that Forbes is posting this. So.
Yeah,
that's a headline from one of his statements a while ago, though. It's kind of misleading headline in a way. It's not recent at all.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that.
What do you guys make of the premiums that we've seen on Coinbase? Binance Futures seems to be continually trading the $70 below Coinbase. Bitfinex is already at 67K. There seemed to be something going at Coinbase and Bitfinex in the past week.
What does it usually mean, Salsa? Is that spot buyers?
No, I've noticed in 60K, there's a big premium on Bitfinex BTC USD specifically. That's the highest trading pair. And Coinbase BTC USD, there seems to be some kind of a TWAP going on. It came and went, but it seems to be on again today. So right now, for example, it's trading $80 above Binance futures as we speak.
Was Michael Saylor supposed to do like a new tranche, or he's still trying to raise the money for it? Not sure what's going on with those guys.
Yeah, we've seen on the way down that there was a big discount as well. Some kind of spot pressure. Maybe it's the ETF flows. I'm not exactly sure what it can be.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do feel like a little bit split between being very bullish because, you know, we have all the alignments, and then worrying a little bit that PopCat is up 80% this week, among other things. That's usually not a good sign.
Yeah, like me, I feel like as long as
dragon.
Yeah, I feel like as long as there's like no new on-chain games to play, people are just going to continue to punt meme coins. You know, I think that's just where people are going to go. It's like people bid majors and meme coins, and then anything in the middle. It's still tough sleddings.
Well, hopefully we get some SalsaTekila meme coins, and then that's one that I'll actually buy.
When Puff perps, when Puff on Bybit.
Oh, I can't comment publicly, but you know, I'm sure the little dragons are working on it. Salsa, thank you for hopping on, and of course for being one of our guests in season 1. Talk to you hopefully in season 2 as well, and get you back on.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Later, man.
See you. We have a next guest.
And while we're pulling up Mr. Robert Leshner here, everyone make sure to give us a like and subscribe. It would be hugely helpful. We got to boost those numbers up for season 2.
Smash that like button.
Yes.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. How's your gym journey been?
It's been good. I mean, you know, it's a good distraction from crypto during quiet times. You know, it's been a lot of work to, you know, focus on my diet and exercise, but you know, I feel like the last time I was on the show, I was a lot bigger and in a lot worse shape. And so, you know,
you look amazing. You got the Daniel Negreanu thing going on. You got the beard guy going on.
Yeah. I try not to trim it at all.
Wow, he looks great.
All you listeners look great too.
Yeah. Like Robert, Justin, and I have this shared trauma because I think we all were farming Blackbird.
Oh gosh, yes.
We were so aggressively farming Blackbird, and then this week they're like, "Oh well, one fly is 1 cent." It's like, oh my god.
Well, not just aggressively. We bought 100,000 fly tokens each for $10,000, and now a fly token is worth a penny.
I know.
So. Yes, this is the problem in general with like speculatively farming something prior to launch when like the terms of it are unknown. The white paper is a draft, you know, it's fun, but you really don't know what you're getting. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't work out, at least in regards to Blackbird in particular. Hopefully we at least eat some good food at places we've gone to farm points from. So
yeah, at least I have a $2,000 in points.
But hey, that could how many calories you have to eat and how many dollars you have to spend at restaurants.
We don't talk about that.
Robert, do you know Ryan Salkis well, and is he on a warpath? What's going on there?
You know, I don't know him well, so I'm probably, you know, just as equipped as anyone on crypto Twitter to judge, you know, what's going on there. I was sad to see that he stepped down today, to be honest with you. I actually, you know, thought that he'd be able to manage that process better. I think he went a little bit overboard the last couple of days. He said some things that I completely disagree with, frankly. I agree with a lot of the things he says. Sometimes he says stuff that like makes my blood boil as well. So it's a tough situation. I mean, like anyone who's a public figure has to balance, like, what are you saying publicly? What does it mean to like my business or whatever in like, you know, the offline world? And it's hard to get right. I mean, we've seen so many people on crypto Twitter just like take things way too far. and it's like, whether it's Ryan, trashing an immigrant, or whether it's like, Do Kwon, like totally dunking on people, or, whether it's all sorts of people over time, it's like, there's a lot of people that have just gone overboard, I think, because like there's a thrill to, being so wild publicly, I think. I mean, I try not to be, but like, I kind of get it. Like, it's a slippery slope.
Elon like really managed to, maybe Elon and Trump, have they been the only ones that really, maybe because they're in a different category with how well they should post. I don't know.
Yeah, like where they clearly piss people off, but it's kind of this 1-to-1 ratio where they'll like, piss off one person, but like one other person is going to be like totally enamored with them. And in the case of Elon Musk, when he has a product to sell, he makes a lot of money with that strategy, right? Like you get one person who's like totally riding the Elon train. It's like they're selling more Teslas, right? Even if it like angers, some liberals or whatever. With Trump, it's like, I don't know. It's, 50-50 for elections isn't great, but like, it's probably going to work for him. If you're Ryan and you're being like totally bombacious, it's like, fine, you're going to piss people off and you're going to get like total diehard supporters. It's like, does that work with a product like Masari? Like, probably not.
What do you think about Vitalik's? Just one more question on this, because Vitalik, he kind of pissed a few people off by trying to take the side of like, guys, don't vote because of crypto. Vote for green puppies and unicorns.
Yeah, I didn't love that line of thinking from him, and it like, I don't agree with everything he says. I think he's brilliant. I like agree with like most of the things he says. I disagree with him there. I think, he takes a very high level view, which is, we're building systems that are supposed to be government resistant, right? And so it's like, why even like, think and like make government such a large part of your thinking is kind of it. Like, it's like, oh, like to Vitalik, you're better off building censorship resistant tech.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think people were starting to be bearish on Ethereum once he posted that. Thankfully, before many hours passed, he redeemed himself with his own strong kind of shit post. Maybe you can bring it up, Justin. We have it here in the chat. So he got a reply guide by
Autism Capital.
We can see the reply. Damn it, Vitalik. And then he just like smacks back and shows us why he is the boss man. He's like, I don't understand why you're still doing your current Twitter strategy. I feel like you kind of fell off 2 years ago. You should either be an honorable intellectual or go full inverse, brah. Your current approach fails at both. Never nor funny.
Yeah, that is a burn. That is like a serious, like to the core burn.
I bought back on my ETH. When I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm back in, guys. I'm back in.
Not me. So I say this as, I'm the conservative voice of the show, the far right guy. But I have to talk about privilege here for a second. Vitalik's privilege, he's at billionaire level, talking about why we don't need to vote for the companies we own and work for, the investments we have, like why we don't need to vote for that because there's a bigger picture here, is just so out of touch, which is pretty aligned with what I was saying either last week or the week before when Vitalik was talking about how meme coins and all of the speculation can be used for charity. It just totally misses the perspective of 99.9% of the industry and the people that work here.
I agree. It's an ivory tower post, and like, it's too academic.
Yeah, I think the entire ETH ecosystem is super academic now, and I feel like Solana is like now taking this approach of, okay, like let's just get the users, whereas ETH is more research.
Let's not get too academic just yet. Maybe in 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're right.
So, there was a moment where it looked like the Democrats were maybe also going to be okay with stuff, but first we had the veto where Biden just like vetoed the bill. And then Gensler just like keeps going after anybody who he can sue. So at this point, it's pretty much it's not a bipartisan situation.
No, it's not. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the Democrats, trying to outreach to the industry, make inroads. There's individual members of Congress and the Senate who are phenomenal, but the current executive branch is not. And the current executive branch has not improved its stance towards crypto one iota, besides like one or two like tweets or like quotes dropped in publications being like, we're going to outreach. The executive branch has continued an incredibly aggressive anti-crypto policy. And, you know, a couple months ago, you would have thought to yourself like, oh, it's Biden, you know, it must be, right? Hopefully the last couple months have like at least illuminated that it's probably not Biden. Like, most likely other staffers who...
It's Joe Biden, you're saying.
Yeah, like, or whoever it is. Like, I don't think Joe Biden is making the call to veto the SAB 121 repeal. Like, I don't think he's talking about crypto policy at all, right? It's very clearly members of the administration at some levels of the government, but it's clearly not Joe Biden whose policy this is, right? And so there has been no change in policy. It'll be very interesting to see if there's any at all change in policy messaging, thinking approach if he were to drop out. Most likely not, because, you know, I think even a scenario where he drops out of the campaign, he will very likely not resign the presidency. You know, I don't think this is going to change at all going into the election itself. I think the administration has continued to be extremely hostile to crypto, even with Democratic members of Congress and the Senate like coming out in support of it. The executive branch has continued its warpath. And
thankfully, though, on the putting the political side, on the TradFi side, and I want to get your thoughts on BlackRock and maybe what they're looking to do, because that looks very bullish. And for you guys like wondering how much TradFi matters, can you put this up, Justin? This is how much money TradFi guys have. Forget like our like little crypto coins and whatever. This dude paid 45 million for a Stegosaurus. This is the TradFi dude. If he puts 45 million into your meme coin, you know, things can happen. So, Robert, what's going on with the TradFi companies?
You know, there's generally a lot of like under the surface bullish activity from a lot of different corners, right? You know, I don't think Ken Griffin buying a Stegosaurus is bullish for crypto in any way, shape, or form, because he's not going to alternatively take $45 million to buy a meme coin. I think, like, you know, at a certain
but an NFT, maybe NFTs.
hopefully he buys all the alien punks, you know, and spends $45 million and everyone's happy. But I highly doubt that too. Like, you know, I think he wants a Stegosaurus for his back porch or whatever to be the most impressive statue that's ever existed. Under the hood, like, I do think there's a lot of bullish things happening. Like, the tide is turning of corporate views on crypto, right? There was just, you know, some tweets going around like 24 hours ago that Jamie Dimon is going from the world's most vehement anti-crypto like bear to being open-minded, you know, towards crypto, right? So you're seeing a lot of projects at banks, right? Like including at JP Morgan to build on chain in some fashion. They're obviously using more of their own, like, you know, walled garden and like private blockchain approaches for now. But like most institutions are dropping this act of being anti-crypto and anti-blockchain. I think there's going to be very few institutions that are left like waving this flag of like, we hate this stuff pretty soon. Yeah. So like, I think it's really bullish. Like the sentiment, I think, has genuinely changed for the better from Wall Street, from institutions, and from, you know, TradFi or non-crypto native players across the board.
Where do you think it's all going to be built, Robert? Is it going to be built on Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, XRP?
Yeah, this is like one of those great questions where, like, if you have a crystal ball, you can probably make a lot of money speculating, right? Like, no one has a crystal ball. I don't, at least. I think Ethereum right now is the front runner for one very basic reason. And this might not be intuitive to everybody, but like, you know, I'm building institutional facing products, so I spend a lot more time thinking about this. Ethereum has the integrations and the connectivity of the institutional infrastructure of the crypto market. So like all of the custodians support Ethereum, Ethereum smart contracts. All of the prime brokers support Ethereum, Ethereum assets. You know, all of these institutions, when they're like testing out a smart contract for the first time, like Solidity has even though it's an absolute garbage language, Solidity and Ethereum smart contracts have the most developer tools and communal knowledge around them. Like, if you're an institution in the space, Ethereum is likely the only thing that right now can and does work for you to build on in terms of public blockchains. There's no other public chain. And, you know, there's obviously a lot of like alternate ideas being created right now. Like, oh, we'll have a L2 that's just for institutions, or an L2 that's just for RWAs, or, you know, a L1 elsewhere that's like, we're trying to like win this using something. But when it comes to like institutional support, I think Ethereum is currently number one, because all of the service providers for institutions support it. You know, a lot of the, you know, middle like intermediaries support it. The language is well understood. It's the ripest platform to build on. And that could change. It might change. You know, Superstate, you know, that I've run is focused on Ethereum first. We're focused on every chain or omni-chain later. But like starting with something that has the highest support levels and then moving horizontally.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we always had this talk last cycle too. Oh, the institutions are coming, JP Morgan's here and whatnot, but it never really amounted to anything. Do you think this is like for real though? I guess BlackRock's already tokenizing.
Yeah, BlackRock is the first example of like oh my God, they're a huge institution, and they're literally building on Ethereum like right now. Like, they are gathering assets on Ethereum. They are talking a great talk about how excited they are to continue doing this. Like, this is no longer just like vapor. This is like real. And so, yeah, there's not a lot others. There's still like 100 times as many like private pilot projects on a totally closed system. But the big giant first domino has tipped. It's like no one can say this isn't happening now.
How much do you think like BlackRock is investing in this from a human capital perspective and just economically? Like, how much money are they putting into this every year? How big is the team? Do you have any sense of that?
I don't spend that much time paying attention to it. I don't know if any of it's in their like public reports or if it's on like the analyst calls or anything like that. Like, you know, I think it actually would be a lot of fun to like dial into their next analyst call and ask, you know, and see if you can get an answer. But like, to my knowledge, like a lot of this stuff isn't being talked about.
Yeah. Another question I have for you, Robert, is that, you know, you're like a DeFi founder. Just if you can pull up my screen, there's a quote or there's a tweet by Jake Chervinsky that says maybe many crypto companies are delaying their products, tokens, et cetera, until after the election, and this summer might be quieter than usual. Do you kind of like, what do you think about this view? Do you think maybe next year is when all the fee switches and like DeFi tokens can, you know, have their day in the sun? Or yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, everyone's sort of looking at this election as a huge inflection point about whether the US continues to have a headwind where you have an administration that's actively trying to thwart crypto, trying to prevent people from building in the space, trying to prevent businesses from being created, trying to prevent most of the growth here at home, and an opposite party that is embracing it. You know, whether you like or dislike Donald Trump, you know, the official Republican platform now includes crypto and like includes some incredibly bullish views on crypto. And Donald Trump is making a big deal about how he's about to speak at the Bitcoin conference, you know, to talk about how much he's excited about Bitcoin, right? So as of right now, you have one party that is a massive headwind and one party that is potentially a very large tailwind. Now, the Democratic Party being a headwind could change. It's possible that Biden, you know, steps back from his candidacy and whatever replacement there is more open-minded or sees the writing on the wall that being hostile to crypto is very bad politically. There's almost no advantages to it, and there's very deep disadvantages, and like changes course. But right now, you know, you have we'll call it a coin flip. It's probably not a coin flip, but call it a coin flip that things continue to be very difficult, or that reverses and you have a tailwind and you have like everything getting a lot easier, and you have a government that wants innovation to happen in America. And so if you're a builder, like what you do next, so much of that decision-making does come down to the election.
As we await our last special guest, I wanted to ask you another question about this tweet that I saw a few days ago that I think you might be able to speak to, because you're both a VC and a builder. And it's a pretty cynical quote, but it says, the reason your favorite VC says we need to build more consumer apps is that infra Ponzi's that are heavily invested in need new blood. The reason your favorite VC doesn't actually invest in consumer apps is because there are no real consumers in crypto. And because this cycle, we haven't seen the speculator base expand significantly. Like, what are your thoughts there? Like, what are you focusing on when you're looking at projects to invest in? Do you think there are real consumers here that aren't just speculators?
So this is a really interesting debate. 2 weeks ago on the Chopping Block, my podcast, we actually had this like exact conversation about like infra versus apps. Most people here probably don't listen to that, so I'll just summarize my views on this.
We do.
Okay. Well, you guys are awesome. I mean, come on. I think applications are really hard to invest in because one, the market value of like, post-token public applications is just dramatically less than infrastructure. And the probability of an individual application succeeding is low. Like if I get 100 pitches for consumer applications, one of them is going to be successful. And in the case that one of them is successful, this sort of like terminal value is not going to be that high, especially compared to infrastructure.
Robert, let me just interrupt you. We'll get the thoughts of you, and also like we have one more special guest joining. Who's here?
Hey everyone!
Hey,
Charles.
Hey, how's it going?
We're so happy to have you, Charles. Thank you so much for making the time.
It's great to be here, steady lads.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Just came up. Oh, I love your mug too. Is that a bunny?
Hi, it's Mrs. Meowmers.
Mrs. Meowmers?
Is that your cat or?
No. I have animal themed mugs, and so if I'm having a day, I have my Miss Meowmers dog. I have Mr. Wolfington. There's like 14 of them, and then we rotate through them. Oh yeah, actually, and I also have this little mascot here. So this is Happapus, Happy Octopus, and then you can flip it, and that's Satipus.
Satipus.
Good old Satipus.
You're like an expert memer. I didn't know that.
Yeah, is anyone making a meme coin out of these? I wonder right now.
It's HR things. I'm like, are we gonna have a Happapus or a Satipus meeting? It's like, where on the doll did the octopus touch you? All right. So what do you guys want to talk about today? Are we live?
We are.
Oh my God. Okay, we're broadcasting. Hi, everybody.
Broadcasting live.
Satipus is a thing now. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
Charles.
Well, all right.
You can jump right in. Like we were just talking about applications, investing in applications versus infrastructure, and why it's so hard to invest in applications, because it seems like a long shot. What do you think about this dynamic?
Well, investments in general, I try to stay out of particular advice or recommendations because I'm the worst investor in the entire world. I used to have 50,000 Bitcoin. I did not sell at the top. So what I do is I do talk in terms of portfolios and these types of things. You need a balanced portfolio of NFTs and meme coins and DeFi and layer ones and layer twos and these types of things. And there's sectors like the mining sector or the staking sector, these types of things. And what we lack are indexes. If we had like an S&P for crypto, it'd make things so much easier because you'd just be weighted and balanced, and you go and purchase a unit of it, and all things considered, you're then betting on the sector or you're betting on the industry as a whole. Like my belief is that we'll probably be looking at $100,000 to $250,000 Bitcoin next year because of the flow and stock model and what I've lived through for the last 12 years. I came to the cryptocurrency space 2011, and in 2012 we had the first halving, and so we went from $4 Bitcoin to $1,200 Bitcoin in 2013, and then in 2016 we had the next halving. We went for $250 Bitcoin to $20,000 Bitcoin in 2017. Then in 2020, we had the next halving. We went from $4,000 Bitcoin to like $68,000 to $69,000 Bitcoin in 2021. So we just had the halving this year in 2024. So if one is to believe that 12-year trend is going to continue, you can do some calculations and realize your price point is going to sit somewhere between 100 to 120,000, give or take. But then there's also that question of Bitcoin dominance and the relationship between Bitcoin and real world assets, as well as all these new tokens that we have to play with, and does that have a dilutive effect or a rising tides effect? So it just depends on your particular thesis and how these things operate. But I'm operating under the thesis that's probably the directionality. We'll have rising tides, so even garbage will probably go up. However, there will be an enormous amount of volatility, and it's hard to particularly predict, whether it's one or the other. Like, I'll give you an example of tale of two cryptocurrencies. There was Solana and Harmony One. I know the Harmony One guys. They have great technology. There's a lot of wonderful ideas that they had. Solana, compared to it didn't really make sense to me why that would be a better option, because both of them are trying to occupy that same space of extreme scalability at any cost. Solana won and Harmony One didn't. I couldn't predict that in this cycle. I bet wrong on that cycle. And there's been numerous cases where I've done that. So that's why I don't tend to point to a particular project and say, hey, go buy that one, because I'm the worst guy in the world for that stuff.
Yeah, but was it BD or was it technology? Why did they win? Like, what do you think it was?
It was less about tech, and it was just more about the fact that they had the right growth model. They really killed it with developer acquisition. They killed it with, a lot of the community building aspects of it. But on the technology side, I actually felt that Harmony had a superior stack. There were a lot of people there that really knew what they were doing. And I thought that, at least from what I read and what I saw on the GitHub repos and these things, that it was a better horse to bet on if the goal was scalability. So obviously I never took any position in Solana.
What are your thoughts on the ecosystem today? I mean, Solana has sort of been the narrative of the last year. We've got the ETH ETF coming up. You just not talking about Cardano for a second. Like, where do you think we're at? Do you think Solana's in the right place? Do you think Ethereum has some massive tailwinds with the ETF right now?
I mean, stuff changes so quickly. Solana was in the dumps after SBF, and a lot of people thought that it was on the way out. And then it made a complete 180 and massively surged. Any cryptocurrency could do that. In 1 or 2 months, you can climb 5-6 spaces on CoinMarketCap and suddenly get huge customer acquisition. And it could be a very unpredictable thing. It could be a meme coin that does it. It could be a black swan event, like somebody dies in a founding team, or there's a merger or something, or a regulatory event knocks somebody down and somebody comes up and kind of takes their shine. Like Binance looked completely indestructible for a long period of time. Then CZ kind of had some trouble, and now there's a big shakeup, and there's a lot of people vying to become kind of a dominant altcoin exchange. We couldn't have predicted that 24 months ago, So Solana seems to be doing fairly well and making certain good decisions. Like Fire Dancer looks pretty interesting, and there's a lot of things in their roadmap that are trying to correct and improve house cleaning that's long overdue. A guy who builds protocols for a living, it's like nails on a chalkboard when I see some of the things that they do, but they get away with it because they emphasized a lot on customer acquisition, and they managed to win the narrative out. It's really easy to do when you have billions of dollars of capital laying around for, narrative development. It's, if you're able to go and spend $500 million or $1 billion in customer acquisition, marketing, and other things, it's easy to be everybody's friend and look really sexy. But does that have a long-term durability, like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? I remember last 2 cycles ago with EOS, they bought voice.com for what, $40 million, and they did all this stuff. Are we talking about EOS today? They were the OG Solana. They raised a bunch of money. They got a lot of darling, they were super fast, BFT, all this stuff. And it never really went anywhere. So governance matters in the long term, and community stability and sentiment matters a lot. And you really have to actually break and look at the individual projects and see how loyal are they, and are they going to go, and where's the source of strength going to be. It's too early to see if Solana can keep what their gains are and hold them and create that kind of loyalty. It's incumbent to the project leaders to figure that out.
I actually have a question around, I guess, ecosystem building. So Justin, if you can pull up the farmer tweet here. I remember using Harmony, right? I was farming DeFi kingdoms. I have the farmer hat there. I love this photo of you. The gardens are coming along nicely. I think according to DeFi Llama, the Cardano ecosystem has 250 million TVL. Is there anything like what's like the most exciting applications that you see in the Cardano ecosystem? And can farmers like me go there and start farming?
Yeah, so we do have a slightly higher TVL than that. I think it's probably around 350, 400. It just depends on how you count it, where you count it from. Like Tap Tools is probably a better website to look at, because that's incumbent to the Cardano ecosystem, and you can actually see everything that's going on, including the individual DEX trading for each of the projects. But yeah, there's plenty of things you can farm on, whether it be going to the DEXs or some of the DeFi applications. So yeah, I'd encourage you to take a look at MinSwap, SundaySwap, Axo, And actually, there's better yields in many cases. Like if you're doing work with stable coins on Cardano, in some cases, like with USDM, you can get probably 50% yields on that because there's just not enough liquidity there. And so the spreads are better.
Protocol USDM, or is that what is?
Yeah, it's a stablecoin protocol. Yeah. So, but those are artifacts of long tail markets. And so in trading, typically if you have tons of participants and a high degree of liquidity, profit opportunity tends to commoditize and it goes way down. So usually prop shops, what they do is they look for long tails where there's smaller pools to play in that have a lot more variance. And then you actually have bigger deltas and more alpha to chase. So it's actually more attractive if you're smaller scale to go into a place like Cardano than it would be, for example, Ethereum, because you can do better there. But if you're larger scale and you want to place like $500 million of capital or $1 billion of capital, you're probably dealing with like Bitcoin related products or things like that, or you're not even in the crypto space. You're, doing other things in the alternatives market. So it just depends on that. So I encourage you to go to Tap Tools and just kind of look down the list. And there's tons of really interesting things to play around with, whether it be Genius Pool or, there's plenty of meme coins to play around. There's Nike and Snack and Hosky and things like that. And so we have a lot of projects. There's several hundred projects there. And, our TVL's grown by over 300% in 1 year. So people criticize us, but remember, we didn't even have smart contracts fully enabled until the end of 2021. And then we started getting a bull market, and then all of a sudden FTX happened and Luna happened. It completely destroyed all liquidity across crypto. And so now things are building up, and 2023 was a huge growth year for us, and 24 has been a huge growth year for us. And we're growing very rapidly and comfortably. And it's got all the healthy metrics you expect, from the level of governance participation to the staking participations, well over 65, 70%. And all of our projects are starting into their version 2 and their version 3, like MintSwap version 2 just released, SundaySwap version 3 just released. So people are starting to learn how to actually build in this model. The other thing that was a barrier to entry is that it's a very different programming model, extended UTXO over accounts based. So there was a bit of latency in people figuring out actually how to build Cardano applications. And so that kind of delayed things a little bit. And we had to build new languages and new techniques and new tooling. It usually takes about 3 years to do that. And so we paid that whole price as an ecosystem. And now we have like Rust dialects and TypeScript and proper Haskell and all these nice frameworks and libraries and things like that. So we're starting to see much faster DApp development velocity. So it used to take 6 months to build something. Now it takes like 3 to 6 weeks to build something decent, get it running. And there's a pretty good dev ecosystem. In fact, our dev count's gone up like 400% in the last 15 months. So it's very healthy. But it doesn't follow the huge boom that you see in Solana, for example, which is kind of a flash in the pan.
Are you going after the same market, the same consumers as, say, Ethereum and Solana? Or are you trying to carve out a different market? Because I will say, like, from the outside perspective, I'm more in the Ethereum ecosystem. We've got Solana ecosystem builders. Robert built Compound on Ethereum and is now building Superstate. Like, I'm curious how you think you'll be able to solve that onboarding problem or the migration problem of bringing Solana users over or Ethereum users? Or are you just trying to grow the pie?
Yeah, I don't want to do sum zero. It's a really bad deal to do sum zero. So we focused a heck of a lot on getting a balanced roadmap and having kind of the best approach towards long-term scalability, the best approach towards layer 2, and also kind of looking at where the world is going to go, not where it's at right now. The biggest problem we have in the industry is everybody wants to do real world assets. They want to start merging legacy finance into Web3, but they're incompatible with each other because of 2 reasons. One, compliance. You want to attach identity and gatekeeping functions into transactions, which is antithetical to the entire raison d'etre of Web3. So there's a philosophical issue there. 2, there's a very practical issue, which is every business and regulated activity has 2 sides, a public side and a private side. Blockchains are super awesome at public side. They're auditable, transparent, they're time-stamped. Everybody can see the common state of the system. They're really bad at the private side of the system. And almost always what you end up doing is centralizing the whole thing. The minute you do that, that becomes a regulated actor and they get sued or they have to get special licenses and then they take over a gatekeeping role, in which case it's not really Web3 anymore. It's just finance with a bunch of extra steps.
Yeah.
You're taking the long road to the whorehouse. It still has the same result. So the long road to the we've been focused a lot. We've been focused a lot on basically saying, can we build these next generation capabilities and bring them in and make them a service layer to the entire Web3 space? So you don't talk about DApp migration anymore, user migration. You talk more like an API economy, how we do Web 2 right now. Like, for example, if you're a developer and you want to do an AI application, are you going to go and rebuild ChatGPT? Are you going to go rebuild Claude? It's like so much work, so much money. You're not going to do that. You're going to use it as an API in your web application or your cell phone application, call it. And every time you call it, you pay a fee. Well, that's exactly where Web3 is going, where I'm an Ethereum application or a Solana application, or I'm a Bitcoin application, and I'm going to use services. And instead of them being centralized, let's make them decentralized. So Cardano's building out that connecting tissue for that. So we actually have a framework called partner chains. So you have Cardano and then these other layers that plug in. We based it on a lot of tech from Parity Substrate. So thank you, Polkadot. It's a great ecosystem there. And when we put those two pieces together, basically we can build bridges, oracles, and hybrid applications across the entire space. So our first foray into that's Midnight. So Midnight is the computational privacy layer, and we think it's going to become the dominant bridging oracle and real-world asset stack. So that's where the security tokens go and all these things go. And you don't have to migrate from Ethereum to do it. You can pay in Ether, and you don't have to migrate from Solana to use it. You pay in Sol. You see, but then it all gets sorted out under the hood there, and it just creates transaction volume that comes through that eventually gets settled and routed through Cardano, but you don't see that or feel that as a user. So that's how it ought to be, because you can replicate that for any service, storage, AI.
What's the current like feeling with privacy coins and privacy in general? It's a double-edged sword, right? Because on the one hand, you want privacy, but then governments don't like it, and they start putting regulations. You start getting into gray areas with privacy stuff.
Okay, so privacy is not necessarily a double-edged sword. By statute, it is required. There's GDPR, there's Bank Secrecy Act, there's HIPAA. So governments pass laws requiring you to keep information confidential. The challenge is the disclosure regime. Who gets to see it? What circumstances do they get to see it? And these types of things. So what privacy coins do is they're privacy absolutists that say, there's only one party that will ever see it. It's the person who originally created it and owns it. And what a normal society does is, so you have a public side and a private side, and there's a disclosure regime that exists with it. So the thing is, you need programmability to do that. And nobody until we and Zcash figured out a framework to do that. So Zcash has something called ZEXE, but they've never implemented it. We created something called Kachina and implemented that with Midnight. And it's actually in testnet right now. So if you want to play with it, go to midnight.network. And if you write TypeScript, you can actually write a private smart contract, which has a public state and a private state. Why is this useful? Because then you can build a DAO with it. You can build security tokens with broker dealers and disclosure regimes and these types of things. And you can plug any identity stack that you want into that. So then you have a blockchain settlement system, but then you have a disclosure regime that exists with it.
I agree that privacy is like one of the things that is underexplored. I know like Litecoin was doing some Wimble, and we're trying to try different things. And this Midnight thing sounds, and it's a cool name, by the way. It kind of ties into the theme, and you guys generally have some cool names. I know your different stages are very
Voltaire.
And you guys have like I know Justin's like a big fan of your tweets. He's always kind of
I think it's good. I mean, Charles, it's amazing you still like have this enthusiasm. You're clearly a builder, but I think like people get to hear that on your channel all the time. So maybe we could learn more about sort of the man behind this big personality that is Charles, and take a look at some of these tweets here. You have some iconic tweets you've sent out. Most recently, you've become very political, it seems like. I know you endorsed, or at least publicly announced, your support for RFK Jr., but I'm also seeing a lot of pro-Trump posts, pro-Republican Party posts. Also, they're clearly coming out as pro-crypto, and we were talking about this before you came on the show. Like, what are your thoughts on where we're at politically? Like, would you like to see a Republican-led presidency, basically Trump in office for crypto purposes?
I mean, I try to stay out of politics, except for when politics comes to our front door. I look at crypto as intrinsically political because we deal with the economic, political, and social systems of the world. It's really hard not to be political when you're talking about the very nature of sound money, voting, your identity, owning your own data. I mean, the whole point of Web3 is basically do the things that the government normally does. So how are you not political if you're doing these types of things? Like you just brought up privacy. You say, well, yeah, privacy sounds great, but government doesn't like that. Well, hang on a second here. It's like, shouldn't we have a say, and shouldn't it be a negotiation as opposed to a mandate? So for a long time, because I've been in crypto for like 2011 and on, the government just didn't care at all about crypto. They completely stayed out of it, except for the odd case like Silk Road or BitConnect or OneCoin. They come in, and almost always they come in because there's drugs or fraud. So crypto was being used as a medium to do something, but they didn't really care about crypto as an asset onto itself. It was too small to regulate. We got too big, and then suddenly governments came in and they started developing opinions. And the Biden administration in particular decided to declare war on the industry. They put into prison people that I'm friends with, like Roger Ver and CZ. They sued every exchange from Binance to Kraken to Coinbase. They created inconsistent, incoherent regulations and administrative proceedings that you can't comply with. They said, come in and register. So, I have broker dealer. How do I do it? We won't tell you. So you're telling me to come and register, but I have the license and you won't tell me how to use it. Or in the case of Custodia, where they're a state-regulated bank, a speedy bank, a full reserve bank, and they go to get a master account, and they say, you can't get one. They say, why? They say, because you're not FDIC insured. And they say, well, the whole point of FDIC insurance is to deal with the fractional reserve. We have all the funds. What are we insuring? Are you saying the T-bills are going to default? They're like, yeah, well, and then they go to the FDIC and ask for insurance. The FDIC says, we can't insure you because you're full reserve. There's no point.
Yeah.
So it's like a Kafka-esque circle of bad policy. And so we go to the Democrats like Ro Khanna and Senator Wyden. I spoke before Congress at the House Ag Committee, and we'd say, hey, guys, can we just get together and pass a law and kind of clean all this stuff up? So we started with that, like FIT 21. Before that, there was the FIA, the Financial Innovation Act, that Senator Lummis and Gillibrand brought together. And this particular administration basically said, we don't think you need to pass a law. We'll veto anything you try to pass, and we will continue regulation through enforcement. And in essence, they're killing the crypto industry. So I've taken the position of vote crypto. It doesn't matter if it's Republican or it's Democrat. If the person's pro-crypto, vote for them. If the person's anti-crypto, vote against them. And once they understand there's a political cost, because 47% of America holds crypto or has held crypto, then they're going to stop attacking the industry. Then the politics get out of the industry, and we can get back to being apolitical as an industry and focus on building the technology. That's my whole point.
Yeah. Speaking of building technology, I think one sector that will benefit the most out of regulatory clarity will be DeFi. I have this tweet up from you. I think it was a year or two ago. You kind of tweeted this funny tweet around everyone poops, like required reading to understand some of the recent innovations in the DeFi space. Can you kind of go over, like, are you not really optimistic, like where DeFi is going, or what did you mean by everyone poops?
Okay, so there's DeFi where we're doing something really interesting and unique and fun. And there's DeFi where everybody expects to get a 10x, 100x instantaneously, and you have Ponzonomics. So when you start dissecting the tokenomics and the protocol design of the majority of DeFi applications, they work until they don't. And when they don't, they have cascading failure. Luna was a phenomenal example of that. One of the first projects I worked on was actually not Ethereum. It was something called BitShares. And this was back in 2013. And BitShares was actually an algorithmic stablecoin in a DEX. So we were way ahead of our time. And what happens when we started doing all the mathematical modeling for it, we realized that you had to be over collateralized. If you were under collateralized, even if it worked in the short term, you'd eventually have a bank run and the entire thing would have cascading failure. So Luna decided that it was above this and just went for it, and it worked, and they made great returns until it went to a bear market, and then instantly they died and they lost everything. So the problem is a lot of DeFi has these time bombs that are kind of nested in the protocol design, and at some point they fall apart. And the issue is that the people who create the DeFi protocols, they are the pooper, and the people who consume them, they're in the toilet. Okay, so you've already expelled the poop. Okay, you've already expelled it, right? So in other words, you've already paid them. They've gotten their tokens, they've gotten their exits, they've done, and so they don't have to live with the consequences of where the shit goes. And so it really hurts people. And so there are certain things that do make a lot of sense, like DEXs can, if they're appropriately designed, make a lot of sense. But there are other things like these high yield products that give you 50, 60, 70%. If you're getting that, it's because you're dealing with a high risk, high volatility market that's very thin with a lot of risk. If there's no way to get a 50% return unless you're in one of these long tail, high risk markets. So you're eventually going to be in the toilet bowl. You're not going to be on the toilet bowl.
Charles, before we get into our last segment here, our copy pasta segment where we share funny tweets, I know everyone wants to hear about aliens. I guess this isn't the most flattering picture of you, but you were funded, I believe, an undersea expedition to recover potentially alien fragments from an alien ship at the bottom of the ocean. Can you tell us about that? And are aliens here? Have you seen any conclusive evidence? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. So I did this with a professor and a group out of Harvard University called the Galileo Project in the Harvard Department of Astronomy. So what happened was that a few years back, a celestial body hit the Earth. And when you do all the mathematical calculations, they were able to ascertain that it came from outside of the solar system, which is a very unusual thing. Typically, things that hit Earth come from places within the solar system, not outside of it. It's a very, very low probability event. So given its speed, the strength of the material, it was an anomalous meteor. We decided it warranted an investigation, go and find it. So we had to find it. And so what we did is we put a whole expedition together. We kind of got an A team. There was the guy who took James Cameron down to the Titanic 40 times, and a crusty old sea captain who led Project Azuria. He was 89 years old, Art Wright. And a few other people, and we rented a ship called the Silver Star, and we actually sailed over to Papua New Guinea, which is in the middle of nowhere, and we spent 2 weeks in the sea, basically dropping a sled 6,000 feet underwater and dragged it behind the boat. It's a magnetic sled, and then we would bring it back up, and then we'd clean the sled off, and we were looking for something called spherules. So when something enters into the atmosphere, the outer skin of it gets so hot it melts, and they drop into the ocean, and then they harden and become spheres. And so we found the spherules from the blast site, and then we analyzed those spherules with very sophisticated technology, and we were able to determine that the spherules had an unusually high abundance of 3 elements that you would not normally see in normal asteroids and meteors: beryllium, lanthanum, and uranium, actually 1,000 to 5,000 times the abundance. So my personal hypothesis is that this is not technological in origin, but rather it's a planetoid that was in another solar system that got hit by something. It cracked open and the core violently expelled into space. It spent 1 billion years in interstellar space. And because cosmic rays were hitting it, it transmuted the outer skin of it to have beryllium. And then it had the lanthanum and uranium from being inside the core of a planet. And then it hit the Earth. So it was a lot of fun, and we were kind of hoping that we would find something that's technological, but we didn't find any evidence of something that was technological in origin. And what would be an indication of that? A heterogeneous material, like if the space shuttle explodes, it's layered, and you have like carbon with exotic alloys and plastic, and you would never see that in nature. Another thing would be exotic materials that don't exist in Earth, like metallic hydrogen or non-Newtonian materials or strange matter or these types of things, or something with writing on it, which was clearly not fabricated in the Earth because the isotopes don't match. The challenge is the spherules were too small for us to do a deep isotopal analysis, and so we weren't able to definitively pinpoint the exact location of where that came from. And we could, of course, go back, but then it would mean we could go in the sea for another few weeks and go back and forth. And it's not a pleasant experience. Like
so no aliens yet.
But we wrote a paper. I actually am a co-author on the paper with the astronomers, and I forget the exact title of it. But if you Google the paper, you'll find it. Avi Loeb is the principal, Aviloeob. And he's all over the place, and you can find the paper, and it's gone through peer review, and it was real fun pushing it through because the peer reviewers, anything mentioning technology or aliens, they get really prickly about that. And it was my first astronomy paper, so that was fun.
A lot of papers.
Charles, we have a nice closing segment. We'd love you to help judge it. We call it Pasta of the Week, and everybody gets their favorite. Here we go, Pasta of the Week. We all kind of find a tweet that we saw this week that we liked and thought was funny, and then we see which one is the best one. So hopefully you'll indulge us and be the judge. We all have a tweet. Robert as well got a tweet. Maybe I usually have Thiccy kick off. Thiccy, you want to go first?
Sure. So Justin, if you can share my screen. There's a lot of discussions around politics today. So right now, I just thought it was hilarious that right now Polymarket has this thing where will Biden outlast the lettuce? 10 days to count 10 times now. And if you go to Polymarket, people are actually betting on this. Granted, there's only like $22,000 into this. But I was wondering, Charles, do you think Biden will outlast the lettuce?
Well, he's stepping down. He's going to stay as president, but he's not going to go for the nomination. I talked to some of the delegates at the Democrat National Convention, and what they told me is they're already starting to get trained for how to participate in an open convention and what the rules are and these types of things.
That's alpha.
The party's deciding this. The issue is there's a ton of logistical things, and they don't want to make it appear that Biden can just anoint Kamala Harris. So my understanding is there's going to be an open convention. He's not going to endorse anybody, but he'll release his delegates. However, Kamala will probably win it because of campaign finance laws. Kamala can't give the hundreds of millions of dollars that Biden-Harris has to somebody else. So right now, the big jockeying isn't for the top seat. It's actually for the vice presidency under Kamala. And what will be the platform of the candidate? Are they going to diverge or change? And the problem is open conventions, if you read 19th century history or early 20th century history, they are the ultimate horse trading. It's like, I'll give you some delegates if you make this person this part of the cabinet. Or
will you be there betting on Polymarket, watching everything unfold live, or watching?
Oh, no. I stay out of Democrat politics. That's even worse than Republican politics. Republicans fall in line. Once they've picked the king, they go follow the king. Or Democrats that's a whole different ballgame. As you see how they're treating Biden, they literally last week, he's our guy. We love him. And then this week, they're stabbing
the best Biden ever.
Yeah, exactly. Worst Biden ever. It's a
the leftists are more poly than the rightists who just get married and stick to one. I have a post here related to what happened. And, so Seraphim posted the picture of Trump getting bloodied and standing up and surviving. And it says, when a BD guy survives a technical panel discussion. And I can relate. I've seen panels where they bring the BD guy having to talk about restaking, whatever else, trying to use some buzzwords and bullshit their way through. And like,
right.
This is half my life.
Roth circuits. I think they're great.
Yeah.
So this is my contribution. Justin, you want to go next?
Let me go last. I'll have Roberts up. Yeah.
What do you got, Robert?
This one, I don't think it was actually serious. I don't think this actually showed up on someone's fridge, but I think it's indicative of a couple things. One, our dystopian present and future, but two, most likely, the conversations about centralization versus decentralization. And I think it is relevant to crypto and everything that we're doing. This is obviously a joke tweet about being unable to open the fridge. If you're not aware already of the CrowdStrike bug with Microsoft that brought down like half of the IT stack of like the world today. There was one company that pushed one bad update that bricked the airlines and ATMs and all sorts of stuff, right? And the reality is like if one engineer at one company can brick half the world, which did happen today, it should be a catalyst for us having like genuine discussions about like how does software work and how is it centralized and how is it distributed? Because it's frankly embarrassing that like one guy pushed some code that brought down half the world.
I mean, this is the whole point of the AI doomers, right? Like this is what they've been going on about, these like inadvertent things where just for the people on Spotify who are not watching, the tweet says, I can't even open my fridge. And it has the blue screen of death because today, obviously, we've had the CrowdStrike bug.
Great pasta. The delivery was a little academic, Robert. That was a
I should have said good meme,
Yeah, good meme. I have a pasta here, Charles, but I want to sort of just check in. Are you a sensitive guy, or can we do something a little more fun?
I'm a sensitive guy. I'm the least sensitive. I've been in the cryptocurrency space for more than a decade. I would be dead if I was sensitive.
So this tweet, when I saw this is a couple of years old, but when I saw this about you, it resonated. We've got the same glasses. You're a little more handsome than me. You're much wealthier, much more successful. But this tweet gave me a little bit of hope. I don't know if you saw this when it went live, but you're not ugly. You're just poor. And I feel comfortable putting this up here because you're very successful, very handsome guy. But is there hope out there for the nerds that are still grinding, still trying to make it?
So you want the backstory behind this picture?
Yes,
Yes, we do.
So that is Maria Jones, and I've known her for a very long time. She was a supermodel, and she's was on Dancing with the Stars. She was a professional dancer, and she used to work at Cointelegraph, and she would go and interview all kinds of people in the cryptocurrency space. So anyway, Maria actually wanted to interview me in Switzerland. And I said, actually, no, I've just left Switzerland. And she said, well, are you flying through Munich? Because that's usually how you fly through. I said, yeah. Why? Well, she lives in Munich at that time. So she actually bought a ticket just to get access to the terminal and just to come and see me and interview me. And we took a picture together.
So there is hope.
So she's there. And I've known her for years, and she's a great gal.
Justin, you underestimated our guest. I mean, is the co-founder of Ethereum and the founder of Cardano going to be sensitive to a picture with a hot girl? Come on.
Well, Charles, can I possibly, can I go as a co-founder or co-CEO of IOG? Like maybe that would help me out and give me a shot here.
Put it on Hinge, the dating profile.
If Charles, if you had said you were a sensitive guy, this was going to be my backup pasta. I feel inclined to show it. Do you remember when you tweeted this one out? This was iconic.
Oh, you want the backstory about that one too? Look at the location on it. It was tweeted from Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, back in July of 2018. So here's what happened. We had been working for 5 months on a browser wallet called Icarus, and we had just finished it. We turned it over to Emergo, which is a partner company of ours, and they were creating the first browser wallet for Cardano called Yoroi. So we had just gotten everything ready. And literally, this was the day we were turning it over to them, and they were going to turn it on within a week. And MetaMask got delisted from Chrome. And we were thinking, oh God, we've just spent like half a year working on a product. We have all this commercial stuff, all this marketing stuff set up. So I looked through my Rolodex, and I was rapidly going and trying to find like, who is the MetaMask team? And I knew the guys at Consensus, like I knew Andrew Keys and all these other guys. And, obviously I know Joe and all this stuff. And, but I couldn't find a specific point of contact for MetaMask. So I reached out to him, and at the time I had the flu, and I'd been jet lagged as hell because I had just gotten to Vietnam. And I was really tired because I've been traveling for like 30 hours, and I was exhausted and sick. And I'm just stressed out of my mind because I'm like, God, did we just like build a product and Google's no longer going to let people do browser wallets or these types of things? So then I asked him, hey, can you PM me? And I was hoping to just get a number and have a phone call and say, can you give me the inside baseball? Is Google going to be delisting these applications? Instead, they're like, oh, well, just use the support email. We'll get back to you. And it's like, I have an urgent fucking question, you guys. I am not in the mood for this shit. So I just lost it. I tweeted that thing out right here.
Do you pull that at restaurants too?
No,
like, you don't get a table and you go up.
No,
you know who I am,
what
right?
happened was that I didn't expect this to become like a humongous thing. And it became a humongous thing. And people actually started putting on T-shirts. They called it Do you know who I am T-shirt.
I would buy that.
And they just got this idea that my characters, I'm this pompous asshole going around, like dropping this name and everything. I was frustrated because I was like, you're MetaMask, you know who the fuck I am. Come on.
Right.
We're competitors. We go at each other all the time. It's like, I'm not a rando, guys. Come on. Would you do this to any other person in this space? I thought they were just being dicks. And it's an easy thing to understand when you're tired and you've traveled a lot. And this is the problem with social media, is it takes one of those interactions that we would have all had 10, 20 years ago in person to person, and it blows it up and it makes it the standard, and then people just believe it. It's 6 years old.
Kind of like stop doing these, because you were doing a lot of YouTube, live streams, and have you stopped it because you kind of just got worn down by the media, all this stuff?
No, because I run 6 companies. I've just been too busy. I've traveled to 7 countries so far. I'm going to 11 more this year. And there's just all these board meetings and everything. I'm literally working like 18 to 20-hour days, like 6-7 days a week.
We appreciate that, like, you took some time to judge pasta of the week, which is a very, important thing, even though you're running 6 companies. Charles, which of the 4 pastas is going to win this week?
Oh, the refrigerator! Come on, that's
refrigerator.
Oh, yeah. It actually has a real philosophical point. Centralization sucks.
No,
one dude fucks up, everybody pays the price.
I custom picked that pasta for the judge.
Oh my God, that was a checkmate. That was a checkmate. Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charles.
Robert, you don't understand. since we started this podcast a year ago, Charles, this is our 1-year anniversary episode. You have been my top choice for a guest. We've been trying to back channel to your team. We finally get you. I had prepared 2 great pastas, not even just one. I had 2 ready to go, targeted specifically for you. And you picked Roberts? So academic and boring.
Smart man.
I mean, there's plenty of pictures of me and hot girls, guys. Come on. And then the other one's me being an asshole, right? Yeah,
Wait, Charles. Wait, Justin, can you share my screen? Speaking of like hot girls, this was like from 9 days ago. There's like this guy says 3 founders of Ethereum are currently on the same stage. We're still back. And then you responded, "It's okay, Lily. I got Cardano girls in the divorce. I'm very happy with that." Like, who are the Cardano girls?
You don't know about the Cardano girls? Okay, so
No.
they formed something called Cattle Daddy Media, and a whole bunch of girls that are like super fans of Cardano got together and created their own media company. So they made all these memes and videos of, "Hey, we're Cardano girls. We do this," and they went viral and they got millions and millions of views on Twitter and YouTube and other channels. So they're all around. Yeah, there it is, Cattle Daddy Media. And some of their viewership is pretty crazy, and so we're always happy to have Cardano girls.
Have you met them,
Charles? Like,
Yeah, I know all of them.
Do you guys?
Oh, wow.
Do you look at the other, Polkadot and the other co-founder, kind of things that they've done later, and kind of like, is there a little bit of competition? Like, Polkadot's doing well or not doing well or whatever.
Right. I get along with Gavin. I mean, I like OpenGov. I obviously like Substrate. We like a lot of the things there. Anthony Diorio is another one of the founders. I get along really well. He actually came to my ranch and we hung out for a little bit. And he's doing an AI startup. So some of the founders from Ethereum, I really get along with. There's this weird thing, like everybody just hates me and I'm the world's worst guy. It's like, well, why do the other founders talk to me? Joe and I have been frenemies. I'll see him at a party. I say, hey, he says, hey. And that's about the extent. Although Joe's a man of very few words. If you ever interview him, or he's like, you talk to anybody in the media that does, he'll ask this long question. He'll be like, yes, that'll be your answer. And so he's a man of few words. Jeff, I think, is making video games or something. And Mihai is, doing something in Switzerland. He's kind of dropped off the face of the earth. The only one who's really stayed active in Ethereum proper is Vitalik. And he's the face of the whole thing. And we have a complex relationship, and it is what it is.
Multi-layered things get complex. And Charles, thank you so much. You have made our 1-year anniversary all that more special. Just one last question before we drop off. We do want to say it properly. Is it Hoskinson or Hoskinson? Like, what is it? What's the right way to say it?
Hoskinson. Are you sure about that? You're sure?
Son.
Hoskinson.
Hoskinson.
Hey, Justin, you got it.
Like the Hoss.
Oh, big. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, big Hoss, right?
Big
Hoskinson. Yeah, kin of murderous horse traders.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Robert. Thank you to Salsa for joining us earlier. Guys, we love you. Thanks for hanging with us for a whole year, and we'll see you in season 2.
Thanks,
Thank you guys so much. Cheers. It's been a lot of fun.